Hi, this is Mark from LongIslandWatch.com, and welcome to another episode of Watch and Learn. Today, we're going to do a little bit of watch basics, and this is going to be how to remove the back of your watch. Watches generally come in three varieties of backs. You can have the one with individual screws. You could have a full screw down, like on your classic dive watch. Or you can have a pop back, which simply just snaps in with friction. They're all fairly easy to remove, and they all take a special tool, but not really killer in price. A few bucks. We sell all the tools that you'll need to do this. I will say with caution, figure out why you're opening it first. If you're opening it just for fun, probably not a great idea. But if you're changing a battery, it's a relatively simple thing to do. That's it's a great thing to do. Or maybe you want to change the seals, or maybe you're going to regulate it, which we will do in a future video. I'll regulate an automatic watch. Then that's why you would do it. But again, if you're not sure what you're doing, just leave it to the pros. Let them do it. I am not a pro at all. I've just been tinkering with this stuff for a long time, so I kind of know what I'm doing a little bit. I don't fix watches though. So we will get into it. First, I guess I'll do my wrist check. My Yachtmaster 40 with the blue dial. And for those of you who don't wear your watches because they're safe queens, look at that. Look at all the scratches on that polished center link at the bottom. And you know what? I don't know if you can see it on camera. They don't bother me. And then the other wrist, Seiko Prospex World Time Solar. So let's get into how to remove watch backs. Okay, so for whatever reason, you've decided that you need to take the back off of your watch. Like I said, it could be a battery change or a regulation. Maybe a screw fell out and you think you know where it goes. Whatever the case may be. So here we're going to show you how to open the case back. Now, you should generally do this in a dry, clean environment. You won't want to do this in a wood shop where there's wood chips flying all over the place. Watchmakers certainly don't work in clean rooms, but there is a certain degree of cleanliness that you have to adhere to, and also a certain degree of humidity control that you have to adhere to. You wouldn't want to do this in a bathroom where there's a shower. You get what I mean, because then you get humidity trapped in the case, and it's never going to leave. So really the order of the day is a little bit of cleanliness. So you're more than likely going to be faced with three different case backs. You could have the solid case back where you've got screws around the outside, like this one. You could have the all-popular dive watch screw down case back like this. Or you could have something like this where there's no screws and it's just a pressure back. It pops on. There are others. This is certainly not the end-all be-all of case backs. Vostok has their own method as well. But I believe that these three are the three you'll encounter the most. So let's start with the most popular, which would be this full screw-down case back like on this Seiko diver, this SKX 007. So what you're going to want to do first is, if it's on a two-piece strap, you're in good shape. But if it's on a bracelet or a closed-loop rubber strap or something, you're going to want to separate the bracelet because it's difficult to get a tool in there and it's just neater. So what we're going to do is we're going to open the bracelet up and get it to separate into two pieces. And to do that, you can watch some of the other videos. We're going to remove from the quick adjustment. I'm just going to push this pin in. And of course, I'm trying to do it for the camera. And it's going to open up. And there we go. So now we have the case back. So you can see that it's a solid case back and there's some notches on the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And basically what happens is a spanner wrench will go in there and we will loosen it. That's not the only way to take off a case back. You guys have seen me discuss this rubber ball before. That's available at a watch parts store. There's their name. This one actually needs a little bit of air, but the idea behind this is for this type of screw back that you find on most dive watches, you push and you hold the case and you turn counterclockwise. And believe it or not, I'd say around half the time there's certainly enough friction between the ball and the case to get you to be able to loosen the case back. It's amazing. This is actually the first tool I always reach for, because if it works, you don't have to use a metal tool. And if you don't have to use a metal tool, that means you will not scratch the case back, because it's very easy. I wouldn't say it's very easy, but if you're not extremely careful, the tool will slip out of the notches and you will scratch the case back when you rotate it. A Seiko is kind of hard to scratch up that much because the notches are so deep. But I've dealt with other watches, like this Orient, where the notches aren't as deep, so the tool doesn't really sit as well, and you really have to be careful that you don't scratch up the watch. So I'm not going to try. I'll do this. You see, it's not moving. I'm not pushing as hard as I can because I really want to use the tool. So I have two tools in particular. I have this just simple spanner wrench. See, this moves, and then you tighten it down, and it's adjustable. And the idea here is that you put it on the two notches, and you lock it down, and then you use it like a regular wrench, and you turn it counterclockwise to loosen it. And then I have, which is my wrench, this is a 3-point wrench. This is a very good wrench, so if you turn the handle, the third point goes down, goes up, and then on the back end there's another wheel, and you can open and close the jaws. And what this is for is you attack the case on 3 points and not just 2. So the idea would be that you get the jaws engaged here, here, and here. And it's a very stable grip, very steady grip, and you can turn it with a lot of torque. And you can open, usually the tightest case backs. If this fails and you can't move it, I do have another tool which is not here. It's big. It's called, I believe it's called an open-all, a vice-mounted unit, and you can really get like a 12 to 18-inch lever arm on it, and you can pretty much remove anything, backs with gold threads, you name it. So to do it, I'll just show you with the tool that I like to use because it's the one on my desk all the time. The other tool I showed you before works just fine, and we sell it in a kit. So what I do, I never really went to school for this, is I open it and you put it into the notches and you tighten it until it just sits, and then I usually raise the back a bit, loosen it, and down, tighten, and you can see the wrench clearly has the watch firmly grabbed, and I'll just go and I'll turn counterclockwise, and there it goes. Now you may have to apply more force, you may not. It all depends on how the watch is done, but I usually just crack it, and then I just use the ball to take me the rest of the way. Again, because I don't have to worry about the wrench slipping out for any reason. And then once it's open, you can let the bracelet fall into the movement and ruin it. No, I'm kidding. Once it's open, you can do whatever you want to do. You can regulate it. I don't know. Like I said, you really have to be careful, when opening a watch if you don't know what you're doing, because it's the easiest way to turn $200 into nothing. So that's it. And then to get it back on, you pretty much just reverse course. You do want to check to make sure the gasket is still seated, because if it peeks out and you go to tighten the back on, you're going to squish the gasket. Then you need a new gasket. But to get it on, I pretty much do the same thing, just in reverse. I lay it on and I spin it. And, it might take a while to get the threads to catch, but you get it to a point where it's screwing in nicely, and then it will stop. And you can actually tighten it all the way with the ball, or you can just go back to the tool and do the same thing and just give it a little bit of a tightening. How tight do you make it? You don't have to make it like a car, like a car tire. Just a nice, gentle nudge. All you're doing is you're trying to seat the back all the way against the case back, and you're compressing the gasket. You don't have to put it on like your He-Man or the Incredible Hulk, because it's just going to make it more difficult for the next person to take it off. One thing I do want to note, before you open any watch, once you decide you're going to do it, is these watches are fairly clean because they're all really not much use. You do want to clean around where the case back is going to be coming off with a toothbrush, a little bit of water, just to get all the gunk out. Because when you open it, that gunk is going to go in, and if the gunk goes into the movement, needless to say, bad thing. But actually, if the gunk goes on top of the gasket and then you tighten it back down, even one sand grain on the gasket, when you tighten it down, will ruin the waterproofness of the water resistance of the watch, and it will no longer hold a seal. Which actually now will lead me to my last thing. So, is it watertight still? Well, I don't have a water tester, a water resistance machine, so I cannot tell. My rationale as an engineer is that the watch was watertight out of the factory, or water resistant out of the factory. I haven't done much. I took the back off. I put it back on. It was clean. It looks like it went together well, so it should be decent. If my life depended on this watch, would I take it underwater? No, I would certainly get it tested. A watchmaker or a jeweler will have a water testing machine. Usually when you get a watch back from repair, there is a slip of paper that says, this watch has passed, a certain depth measurement of water resistance. So I want to just say a few words about this tool that I showed you. It's got the 3 bits in it. There are some tips and tricks for using it. Sometimes the watch will be so wide that the jaws won't open to accommodate it. What you can do is just ditch the third bit, pull it out, open this one as wide as it can go, and then what you can do is I've done this before, is you can put it like on these two. So certainly not ideal because they're not diametrically opposite each other, but you can get a good grip on it, and you can still turn the back off. I take out the third one just so I don't scratch the case back. Something else to note on this particular tool, like we sell something like this in our professional set. If I show you the box, it's got a whole bunch of other bits that you can put in for just different kinds of case backs. Flat tip, it's got a pointed tip over here, but you could find I think I had one before, a watch with holes drilled in the back, and these would go in the holes. But you will find that this tip, the flat little jaw tip, will probably be the most common one that you'll use. Now there is something I'm not gonna go over, but I figure I have it here. So I've got my Rolex that I just showed you in the wrist check earlier. These are screw down backs, but this is basically just called a Rolex back, and they sell dies in various sizes. And the die fits right over here, and it goes into those knurls. And you turn it with either a tool or your hand, a T-bar or something, and you can get the back off. It's a very stable, very steady way to remove a case back. Almost no chance of slipping because it's got so many engagement points, which, with these, this is 2 or 3 engagement points. You take a Rolex case back off, you've got hundreds of engagement points. So very little chance of slipping and damaging the back. So that is the screw down case back, solid screw down case back. The next one is if you have individual screws. This one seems like it's self-explanatory, and you know what? It pretty much is. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a screwdriver. We sell this nifty little screwdriver. It's got a bunch of bits inside the body. You can hear them rattling around. And you're just going to go and you're going to loosen the screws. This one, some of them are actually already loose. And you can do whatever technique you want, the watchmaker technique, where you back it with your finger, whatever you're going to do. I'm not going to take all the screws out. You take them out, you open the back, you do the same thing. You look at the gasket, make sure it's not damaged. You put the back on. Put the back on the same way it came off. So if you want, take a pencil and make yourself a little witness line from here to here so you know that you put the back on in the right orientation. Sometimes they're symmetrical, sometimes they're not. And sometimes for the crown stem over here, there's a cutout where the stem lays in the cover. And if you put it on backwards, guess what you do when you tighten down the cover? You crush the stem and the watch is no good. When you put it back on, you're going to put your screws in one by one, probably with a tweezer. And then what you're going to do is you're going to do like you're putting a car tire on, but not with the same force. You're going to tighten over here. And then you go over here, and you're going to tighten over here. And then you're going to come over here, and you're going to do it in a star pattern. You're going to keep going around and around and around, and you're going to tighten them down. So how tight do you make it? Well, you're not going to get your whole hand on the screwdriver and be bearing down on it. You're going to just turn it until it stops, and then you're going to give it a little more. You're going to tighten it with your fingertips. It does not require a lot. Again, you're just flattening a gasket, and what will happen is you will quite easily shear off the head of the screw. And if you shear off the head of the screw, you more than likely will need a new case for the watch because it's very difficult to remove a busted screw from inside a watch case. A busted screw from inside a large structure, easy. You drill a hole in the middle, you put a screw remover in, and you back it out. But in this case, not going to happen really. So just be careful. And again, if you don't know what you're doing, just take it to a professional. You don't have to worry about it. But if you want a little knowledge about how these backs go on and off, this is it. So that is your screw down case back. Generally, your lower water resistant models. I know in the water resistant video, Watch and Learn, I did talk about this a little bit. And the last one that's usually the least water resistant is the pop back. And the pop back is usually 3 to 5 atmospheres, and that's about it. But again, the same rules are going to apply. We're going to clean it before we do anything. And then because it's in the way, we're going to open the bracelet, and we're going to remove the pin from the quick adjustment link. That's out. So now we can look at the watch. So how do you get these off? Well, you use what I have dubbed a clamming knife. It's something like this. So basically just a dull knife, sharp enough to fit under the cover, but thick enough that when you go to, cant it up and lift it, you don't crack the blade. So what basically you have to do is you have to find where they have left a little room under the cover to get the case back off. And I did a little homework before I did this, and I believe there's a notch, I don't know if you could see it, right in the middle of the back of the cover. So basically this knife is going to go into here, and I'm going to snap it up and get it off. But it appears that the bracelet is going to get into my way, so I need to take the bracelet off. So I've got some other watch and learns that show you how to remove watch bracelets. So we're not going to cover it entirely, but all we're going to do is just come in here with a tool, and we're going to remove the pin. And there you go. So now that it's off, it's tough because a lot of times when you try to find that little notch, it turns out that the case is just being reflective and it's causing you grief. But there, you can see it. You can see a little half moon right there. Maybe an eighth of a moon, maybe even less. So what we're going to do is sometimes you'll want to protect the case with tape so you don't scratch it. I really don't care about this one, but we're going to put the knife right into there. We're going to push, and then we're going to twist it to try to pop it off. You heard that go in, and it's off. That's it. That actually went fairly smooth. See, not a round watch, but a round movement. And now we can look at the case back. You can see it's got a gasket around it, and you can see where that lip was, where we put the knife under. And that's it. So you do what you got to do. You're regulating it. You're ruining your watch forever. Whatever you feel like doing, you'll put it back on. And now here's the tricky part. I did this in, I think I've done this in some other videos where I showed you a press. And the problem here is getting the cover back on. And if you have the fingertips to do it, more power to you. This one actually, I believe, just went on. If you don't, you need a press to put the back on. So, you may do half the job, then realize, oh my goodness, I can't get the back on the watch anymore. And then you need a press to do it. Press is a very simple device, but if you don't have one, you can't do anything with it. So this has been Mark from LongIslandWatch.com, showing you how to remove various case backs from watches, or whether they be screws, a pop back, or the all-popular diver screw down. If you like this video, please like it. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please do so. If you have any questions or comments, you can put them down below, and I'll be sure to address them as soon as I can. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.